What's going on, everybody out there, and welcome to another edition of the Gimme presented by Bet365. Why do we call it the Gimme? Because it's good. That's why. I'm Jason Sobel. He is Roberto Arguello. And over the next little bit, breaking down this week's Memorial Tournament at Jack's Place, Muirfield Village Golf Club. Cannot wait for one of the big designated events on the PGA Tour schedule every single year. Right in between the first two majors and the second two majors of the year, you get a good sense of maybe who's going to play well for the rest of the summer. At this one, we're going to go through our favorite outrights, props, matchups, first round leader plays, one and dones, all the usual good stuff we do every single week. Before we move any further, though, one reminder, the Gimme is presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION, ACTION, to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, and Virginia. Bet $1, get $365 in bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLE. Take a look at the top of the board at Bet365 this week. Interesting. I'm going to throw to you here, Roberto, because I did not see this coming. Not that it matters half point either way, but Scotty Scheffler, your favorite, we all know, very high floor, top 12, 15 straight events, plus 650, Jon Rahm, who's got a win and another woulda, coulda, shoulda win here at Muirfield Village when, of course, he had a 6-shot, 54-hole lead. He's plus 700. I mean, I get it. It's about the same. If you're the odds maker this week, who do you make the favorite?
Scheffler ever so slightly, but you're really splitting hairs right there. They're both in a class of their own.
All right. Okay. You agree with them, so you guys are all probably right. I'm on the island here, but I would add Jon Rahm. And again, it's a half point either way. I mean, it's not a big deal. Just a little surprised that Jon Rahm wasn't the favorite. That's okay. Patrick Cantlay, speaking of little surprises, he is third on the board at 10-1. Of course, he's got 2 wins, 2 top 5 finishes in the last 5 years at this event. We'll talk plenty about him coming up. Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy, both at 14-1, and Viktor Hovland, he's at 18-1 right now. Maybe if you got on a little bit earlier this week, you could have got him at a better number. Maybe some of us did just that. As always, we have been given $100 to spend in our portfolio this week. We're going to start with some outrights. Roberto, who's your first outright?
My first outright is going to be Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Kim, a guy who's really solid on approach and off the tee, more so because of his accuracy off the tee than his driving distance. But this week, both are going to be at a premium because you pay a severe penalty missing the fairway here at Jack's Place. There are hazards all over the place, and then the rough is 4 inches thick. So you've got to be in the fairway. And also, Siwoo Kim has started to figure out Jack's Place recently. In his last 3 tournaments here, all top 20 finishes, and it was consistent play all around for him. He was gaining strokes on approach, around the green, and putting in all 3, and then gained strokes off the tee in 2 out of 3. And that third one, he was just barely negative in strokes gained off the tee. So he's really been positive in 11 out of 12 of those key strokes gained metrics. I think he's going to continue that success at Muirfield Village this week. And speaking of continuing success, congrats to you for hitting on Emiliano Grillo outright last week. The biggest outright at 80-1, 90-1, depending on when you got him, since the API when Kurt Kitayama won. I think that was in February. So shout out to you for hitting that one. Let's stay hot this week.
Yeah, let's stay hot is right. I threw some of that Grillo money on the Celtics in Game 7, so we need to win something back after that. I know you were on the Heat. I should have listened to you. All right, my first outright is a guy who is trending in the right direction. What we've seen over the last half decade at Muirfield Village is a bunch of guys who we thought would be superstars. We knew would be superstars, but they still needed that signature win, that stepping stone win to get them to the next level. From Bryson DeChambeau back in 2018 to Patrick Cantlay in 19, Jon Rahm in 2020. Remember, they weren't necessarily stars when they won. It was Bryson's second win, Cantlay's second win, Rahm's third individual win. And so those guys needed this one to move themselves into the next level. Viktor Hovland could use a similar victory. Look, we all know Hovland is a great player. We know tee to green, he's one of the best out there, especially with those long and mid iron, but he hasn't quite broken through for that signature victory yet. I think it's coming. I got him at 20-1 earlier in the week. Not a great record at Muirfield Village. In fact, nothing inside the top 40 in 3 previous starts. The difference, though, now is that around the greens, we all know Victor Hovland really struggled up until this year. Now, this year, over the last 6 events, he's gained strokes around the greens in 3 and barely lost in the other 3. Victor Hovland just being neutral around the greens is a huge boost from where he was previously. Justin Ray, the stats guru from the 21st group, was on my radio show on SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio earlier today. He told us that Hovland is actually 6th on the PGA Tour this season in scrambling from the rough. Most of those times that you're going to miss the greens here, it's not like a runoff area. You're going to be in the rough. You're going to be in some thick, heavy stuff. Hovland has proven himself from those type of lies. I will go with Hovland, like I said, 20-1, 15% of the portfolio. Who's your second outright play, Roberto?
My second outright play is going to be Keegan Bradley, a guy who's trending in the right direction, getting strokes on approach in 9 of 10 around the green in each of the last 5, and he's gained off the tee in 5 straight as well. So just all around coming in the right direction. And also he's top 55 on the PGA Tour in strokes gained off the tee, approach, and putting. We know that he went through a dip in his putting after that anchoring ban, but has improved consistently over the last few years, and now he's one of those top 55 on tour and putting. He's also 20th in strokes gained approach on tour from 175 to 200 yards, which is going to be a key statistic this week with a lot of those approaches on these long, challenging par 4s coming from that distance at Muirfield Village. And one other thing to add on Victor Hovland, you mentioned the struggles at the Memorial, but in 2020, when they played an extra tournament at Muirfield Village, the Workday Charity Open, he finished 3rd there, and he actually gained strokes around the greens as well. So he should have some level of comfort going back there this week.
That helps me. I like that. I appreciate that. I do like the Keegan Bradley play. I'll have a Keegan play of my own coming up in a little bit here. My second outright play is a guy that, look, I'm going to be accused of being the boy who cried wolf here because I talk about Sahith Theegala like he's the second coming of Tiger Woods. I'm certainly not trying to suggest that he is, but I'm trying to get you all thinking about Sahith because remember I talked about Bryson and Cantlay and Rahm winning before they were stars. Sahith Theegala fits that profile perfectly. He's going to be a superstar. We've seen glimpses of it. We saw glimpses of it at this event last year. He finished in a share of 5th place. It's a great course for him. My radio partner, Michael Collins, spoke with him on the golf course today, and he just sounded confident. He sounded like a guy who's ready to go out there and win his first career PGA Tour title. I got him at 60-1, again, 15% of the portfolio on Sahith this week, who I really like. All right, talk about this golf course. Muirfield Village, 7,533 yards, been expanded even more this year, par 72. This place, from everything we're hearing from players, it's brutal. It's getting fiery. I don't know that Chief Leather Lips is going to make an appearance this week, which means it may stay dry, which means a fast, firm, long golf course this week. It's going to be very, very interesting. Some of the players were saying, if you're in the rough, you have no shot. It's almost US Open-esque how thick the rough is this week. Of course, Tiger Woods won this event 5 times in the last few years. I've mentioned some of the names: Cantlay, Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, Billy Horschel last year won at a 60-1 number, but there's been only one single-digit under par score here in the past decade. That was back in 2020, right before they blew this golf course up. John Rahm at 9 under. Don't be surprised if we see something that's shorter than 10 under this week, winning this golf tournament. If you're looking at total winning score props, the under on that could be nice this week. So let's go to the player finishing position bets. We're going to buy one. We're going to sell one. Roberto, who are you buying?
I'm putting $10 on Wyndham Clark to finish 38th or better. And 38 is a key number for him because he's finished in the top 38 in 11 of his last 12 starts. The one start where he didn't finish in the top 38 was his last start at the PGA Championship. Miscut for him there, although he still had really solid approach numbers from the 2 days at the PGA Championship at Oak Hill. It was the first start for him after his win at the Wells Fargo, so maybe just a hangover effect, but he also struck the ball well. So I know that those approach numbers are going to be key this week at Muirfield Village. You know, Jack wanted to put an emphasis on approach play at his place. And I think Wyndham Clark is someone who is well positioned to do that. He's finished in positive numbers on strokes gained approach in 10 of his last 11 tournaments. And that one tournament where he wasn't positive, it was minus 0.04 strokes gained on approach. So really just neutral. I think he's got a pretty high floor this week as long as he keeps the ball in play off the tee.
I'm going after a similar trend this week, which is to say, if a guy beats that finishing position every single week, he's probably got a good chance of beating it this week as well. So you make a great point on Clark, who is 10 of 11 this year. I'm going after Ricky Fowler, who's beat his number 30th or better in 9 of 11 starts. And so I love that play. Look, I get that for a while now, Ricky Fowler's sort of in this, that's a fun, cute little story. Ricky's starting to play some good golf again. And oh, that's nice. And I think we have to start looking beyond that, guys. Ricky Fowler has played like a top 15 player on the PGA Tour this year. I get it. He's always going to get the criticism because of the hype and all the commercialism that surrounds Ricky. If he's not winning 3 or 4 times a year, if he doesn't get a major championship, everyone thinks that he's coming in under that bar of expectations, but he's playing way better than he did last year. The strokes gain numbers are fantastic. 11th overall on the PGA Tour this year. Like I said, playing like a top 10 to 15 player. We've seen other players from Finau to Jason Day to Wyndham Clark, who you just mentioned, play really well, and sort of the results catch up to the performance at some point. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ricky's results catch up to that performance. Not that he's the results have been poor, but the performance looks like a guy that should be finishing top 5 in contention on a more regular basis. Don't be surprised if it happens this week where he's got 2 career runner-up finishes already. All right, Roberto, I thought it was really hard to find somebody to sell this week based on the Bet365 numbers. Who'd you find?
So yeah, I'm actually putting my biggest play out here on Keith Mitchell to finish 48th or worse, 40% of my portfolio this week. He just doesn't have great form here, and I don't love the history at Jack's Place either. He's lost strokes on approach in 6 consecutive tournaments, and in his last 5 stroke play events, no top 50 finishes among those as well. He does have a 6th place finish at the Zurich Classic of New Orleans, but remember, Sungjae Im strapped Keith Mitchell onto his back and carried him that week. I don't know how well they would have done if it was 2 Keith Mitchells playing that week. I'm going to sell Keith Mitchell. I just don't see the iron play there for him right now. I know he can bomb it off the tee and he can roll the rock really well, but if he doesn't put it in the fairway every time, he's going to have trouble. And even if he is in the fairway, I just don't see him cashing in on those opportunities at a high rate. So I'm going to fade him this week.
As the president of the Keith Mitchell fan club, which often, by the way, gets in the way of my presidency for the Sahith Theegala fan club. Look, I wear a lot of hats around here. I don't like that play, but you're probably not wrong. I will say, Killer Keith made some new friends in the Pro-Am. Got to play with Steph Curry, Damian Lee, and Jake Owen in the Pro-Am for 9 holes until they switched off to Jordan Spieth. So had some fun at least while he was
best visor.
By the way, they all loved him. They all loved him. I think he switched visors with Damian Lee. Damian Lee now has a Keith Mitchell visor that he's wearing around. So that's pretty cool. I hate myself. I'm just going to say it right now. We made these picks 2 days ago. We put them in for the show, peel the curtain back. This is how we do things. I regret everything other than only putting 5% of my portfolio on this. Tyrrell Hatton's been really, really good this year. He's only played here at Muirfield Village once. It was back in 2019, a share of 33rd place. I'm thinking, all right, so 25th or worse. I can see that, but he's playing too good right now. I don't like it. Fade me. Throwing it out there. I'm not saying every pick's a winner. In fact, I'm saying that pick's a loser. So fade me on the Hatton sell. I take it all back. Graphics on the screen. I said it. I get it. I'll own it, but that's a loser right there. Don't fade Hatton. All right. Let's take a look at the market info for this week. The highest ticket percentage out there. Victor Hovland. Hey, we did it. 8.9% of the tickets on Hovland. Rahm and Cantlay are second and third. Highest handle percentage goes to Cantlay, who, of course, has a great record here. That's 13.4%. Rahm and Scheffler right behind him. And the biggest liabilities, I'm sorry, guys. That was all me, Victor Hovland, Hideki Matsuyama, and Jordan Spieth getting some love. A lot of liability on Spieth this week. I didn't see that happening. All right, let's get to our favorite props this week. Where you go with yours, Roberto?
I'm going to go Seabez top 40 at plus 150 for 15% of my portfolio. He's a guy whom we know has been an elite putter, especially on bent grass greens for a while. So I love that this week with these pure greens where a lot of players putt better than average. And for Seabez, the key for him this week has been the approach play, or for him recently has been the approach play, because he is surging and he's gained strokes on approach in 7 consecutive track tournaments, which is the best span of his entire PGA Tour career. He might be playing his best golf ever. I think he's got more upside than just top 40. So if you want to be more aggressive, bet him top 20, top 10, even outright to win the tournament or first round leader. I think you can sprinkle it as you have value based on the numbers available to you.
We're just going Seabez, huh? We're not even going to try.
Christian Bezaden out.
There you go. All right. That's my man. Yeah, I like that play. Look, Bezaden Hout's a guy that I like targeting when the score is closer in relation to par. I think he plays really well on tough golf courses. So I do like that play. I am similarly conservative with my prop this week. And look, I wanted a Patrick Cantlay investment. I don't want to bet him at 10-1. I do think he's got a great win equity this week, but it's just too short of a number. But I'll have him in a lot of DFS lineups. And sometimes you just got to say, hey, I'm going to build up my bankroll. I'm going to build up a bankroll with a smart play. I can get Patrick Cantlay top 10 this week. Remember, only 120 players in the field. So he's only going to finish in the top 8% or so at plus 125, plus money for Cantlay in the top 10 this week. I think is a really smart play. I'll throw 20% of the portfolio on that. Let's get to our matchups. You find a good one?
Yeah, I really like Harris English at minus 120 over JJ Spawn. I'm putting $22 on it. And these guys are just going in opposite directions for me. Although JJ Spawn has been somewhat consistent, his floor isn't, or his ceiling isn't very high. Doesn't hit the ball a long way. And he doesn't have any top 20 finishes in a stroke play event since the Sony Open in Hawaii, all the way back in January. And he also just hasn't played here in 2020. So like you said with Tyrrell Hatton, guys who are playing in these designated events where they're quote unquote required to play, they can skip one technically, but they're playing on the courses where they've strategically skipped them in the past. And I think that says something of value about them, especially for someone like Hatton, where he didn't play here during COVID times and they played twice. So he skipped it twice then. Just said Spawn doesn't think it's a great fit for his games, what those numbers are telling me. And also Harris English is surging. I bet him outright last week, didn't work out for us on that back 9. But, well, I guess the last like 15 holes last week. But anyways, he's got 3 top 13 finishes in his last 4 starts, and his approach play is rounding into form. We know that in 2021, he won twice on the PGA Tour, but then he suffered, I believe, a shoulder injury and wasn't quite himself, had to miss time on the tour. But this span of the last 4 tournaments he's played is the first time he's gained strokes in 4 consecutive tournaments on approach since that 2021 season. I think he's got some upside as well. But I think it's a great spot for him over JJ Spawn this week, and 2 guys who I think are just in different classes. And I don't think we're going to see English matched up with Spawn for much too longer this year on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, look, I think it's no secret that in matchup plays, the best of both worlds is when you get 2 trains going in opposite directions and you can try to hop on the one that you like and bypass the one that you don't. So you're not just playing one guy, but you're also fading the other guy. And I think that's a smart play there. I've got one that I think is very similar in Shane Lowry, who's played some good golf at the Memorial Tournament over the years. Top 10 in 4 of his last 9 starts. He's a guy that finds some fairways, a great short game. The numbers don't show that the wedge game has been great this year, but for my money, he's got some of the best hands in the business. I am taking him at minus 120 over Tom Kim, who's struggled lately. I mean, look, we saw the potential of Tom Kim last year and what he can be at his best. He hasn't been at his best this year whatsoever, so I don't mind fading Kim. Again, you're looking for a guy that you can play against a guy that you want to fade. We're getting the best of both worlds in each of these matchup bets. I'll throw 10% of it on Lowry in that one. All right, how about a first-round leader play this week? What do you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to play a guy who's dealt with some injuries in the past, but also wanted to add on your Lowry and Kim play. Lowry, a guy who just hasn't putted very well. If those putting numbers are just average, he's in a completely different class than Tom Kim. And Tom Kim also has some tape around his wrist and around his thumb. So maybe some injury concerns there for him. He also just not very long. I don't think he has a super high ceiling at this golf course. But another guy who's dealt with injury, Hideki Matsuyama, seems to be rounding into form. He's had some top 31 finishes very consistently recently on tour, but we know that this golf course emphasizes approach play and around the green play, and that is Hideki Matsuyama's wheelhouse. So for that reason, I'm going to bet on him at 40-1 to be first round leader for $5. But bent grass surfaces, especially quick ones, are where he makes his money And we know that he's won here in his tournament debut in 2014. And that surface, the fast bent grass greens, are where he putts the best. So I think he can go really low on Thursday afternoon. Give me Hideki Matsuyama 40-1.
I think that's a really smart play. I like that one. Again, I write my preview on this week. It was really Sunday night and kind of tidied up early Monday morning on the holiday. But I'm writing every week before the tee times are out. And so to remain consistent, I keep the same first round leader play that I have in my preview at the Action Network every single week. But sometimes you look at them and you go, we got screwed on the tee time a little bit because I want a morning guy, got an afternoon guy. Keegan Bradley tees off the afternoon. I'm not going to jump ship, but I will say that I probably like a morning wave player a little bit more than afternoon wave. That said, Keegan's a guy who tee to green has been terrific lately. As you mentioned earlier, Roberto, that part of the game is always treading in the right direction. If he gets hot with the putter, we all know that he can throw a 64, 65 up there pretty quickly. He has broken par in 7 of his last 10 opening rounds at the Memorial Tournament. He is 59th this year on the PGA Tour in round 1 scoring average. I'll throw 10% on Keegan, but I might split it. You know what? I might do 5% on Keegan, 5% on Hideki. You talked me into it. That's the whole point of the
let's
show.
do
We're
it.
supposed to talk each other into these bets and then tail each other. So, all right, we're almost done here. We've got to make a one and done play as we do every week. And I think this is getting to the time of year where if you've got certain players available, it's like, what are you holding on to them for? There aren't that many big ones left. 3.6 million to the winner this week.
Yeah, 3.6 million, bigger than the 3.24 million Masters purse this year. And that's why I'm bringing out the big gun, Jon Rahm, this week. Still got Scotty Scheffler in my back pocket, saving him for a couple weeks from now. But Jon Rahm has done phenomenally on this golf course. You mentioned the win in 2020. The would have been a win when he was up by 6 strokes in 2021, and then the 10th place finish here last year. So 9 players have beaten him in his last 3 starts here. And his 2 wins, by the way, or his win and his withdrawal, which would have been a win, were the 2 highest strokes gained per round tournaments for Jon Rahm in his entire PGA Tour career. So I'm not necessarily counting on him having a top 3 strokes gained per round of his career this week, but he can easily win here. And I don't think he even needs to have his best stuff to win unless Scotty Scheffler is putting the ball well, which I think there's a chance it happens this week. But I like Jon Rahm a lot. Who do you got this week, Jason? That makes a lot of
sense. Sorry. I've been in a one and done pool for at least one of them for 26 years now. And for much of that, I thought there's no strategy to one and done. It's pick a player who's going to play well. What are we talking about here? There is a strategy, though. And I think that you and I are coming up with 2 different strategies here this week. And one isn't right and one isn't wrong, but has to do with where you are in the pool and maybe how big your pool is as well. If you're leading, like Roberto probably is leading all his one and done pools, I'm sure, right now. You want to play Heisman. You want to give the stiff arm to everybody else. Give me Jon Rahm, and nobody should catch me. I have a chance of really putting some separation between me and some other people with that play. If you're like me and you got to maybe make up some ground this week, well, I'm going to try to take a guy that maybe people are overlooking in the one and dones, and that is a guy I mentioned earlier, Sahith Theegala. I don't think he's completely low owned this week, but with so many big time players from Rahm to Scheffler to Cantlay to Hovland, all these guys that have some win equity this week, I do think Theegala will be overlooked a little bit if you only have that one pick to make. And so I'm trying to play catch up. He's already in the lead. 2 different strategies. Neither one's right, neither one's wrong, but I think there is some thought to put into when you're making your one and done pick as to what your pool is like, how many people are in it, first of all, and secondly, where you are right now going into June with just really less than 3 months left in the season. You start thinking about, do I need to be contrarian? Do I need to be a little bit different? All right, let's recap those picks. Roberto's got Siwoo and Keegan outrights. He's buying Wyndham Clark, selling Keith Mitchell, a prop on Seabez, matchup on English, first round leader play on Hideki. I've got Hovland and Theegala outrights. I'm buying Ricky, selling Hatton, sort of. Got a prop on Cantlay, matchup on Lowry. First round leader play on Keegan, which I'm now going to hedge with a Hideki one after Roberto talked me into it. All right. Before we go, one non-golf bet. I know you've been on the Heat. You sticking with them?
No, well, I'm not fading them, but I'm sticking with Miami just the Hurricanes. We gave out the Heat to win the East in our first show this year, and that just cashed last week. Shout out to our new producer Josh for being our good luck charm last week. But I'm going with the Hurricanes. They're 50-1 to win the College World Series. I really like their path in the regionals and super regionals. In the regional, they get Texas as their number 2 seed. As a resident of Austin, got to see the Longhorns play a couple times this year. This team ain't it for them. And also, if they advance and the chalk holds, they'll play on the road in Stanford for the super regional, and the Cardinal just don't have the pitching this year. Their lineup is stacked, absolutely, but the pitching isn't there. Miami has 3 really solid starting pitchers, and they also have the best closer in the country in Andrew Walters. Give me the Hurricanes to get out of the regional, advance in the super regional, whether they go on the road or they host a team like Texas A&M or Cal State Fullerton. And I think they got a shot in Omaha as one of the best defensive teams in the country as well.
I can very honestly say I have absolutely no idea if you're going to be right or not. College baseball just. Colin Wilson's Razorback still in it?
Yes.
All right, fade Colin. Never fade Colin. All right, I'll give me the Nuggets and the Panthers. I think the Panthers plus money to win the series. Kind of like that. They were flying around in the last series. So remember, Green Dot Daily, 3 p.m. Eastern time every single day on your favorite Action Network platform. Thanks for watching this episode of The Gimme, presented by Bet365. For more, check out all of our content at actionnetwork.com and the Action app. For Roberto Arguello, I am Jason Sobel. Good luck. All of your bets for this week's Memorial Tournament. Here's hoping you guys get the green.